Hello, everyone. Wow, my hair is really just not doing its own thing, Donna.
Well, mine is as bad. I got stuck in the flood and I got rained on. So I'm kind of a
Yeah,
Chris Twitter here, right?
I
My
guess
hairspray is nice and crunchy.
you
Yours
got
looks
the
good.
crunchy. You got the crunchy, and then my bouffant of hair is not cooperating.
It's just an all around bad hair day. I
Yeah,
actually had my hat out. I was going to put it on, and I thought it can just be flat. I just give up.
right. Oh, well, you know what? I am so excited. It's Sunday. Then we have Monday. I have the day off, which I'm super excited about. Then I only have to work Tuesday and Wednesday. And then I'm on the airplane to come see you, and I can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait. I saw Mandy last night. I've been guiding for the Night Stalker group since Thursday. So we've been
Yeah.
out in the rain and the woods. And then we met up with Mandy and Rick in the woods. So it's been a very interesting few days. And then it decides it's going to flood today. And I'm trying to get home, and I get over one bridge and the water goes plop, and I'm in between, and I look ahead of me and it goes over up there. So I got to sit there for it was very interesting for a little bit, and I got
Yeah.
very wet. It was,
Well,
oh,
let's bring out one of our co-hosts. Some of our co-hosts are not going to make it today. Poor Trisha and her family was somebody hit their truck,
oh
and so they're
no.
dealing with that. They were waiting for the police
Oh,
to show up. So she may come in a little later, or she may not.
oh no.
And then Rachel has some things going on with her dad and stuff that they're trying to do. So it's, I was like, if you can't make it, it's fine. And then my mom, D Smith or D Jones, I almost said Smith. That's her maiden name. She is actually going to be coming on in a little bit as a guest co-host. And so I can't wait for her to join us and enjoy the conversation that we'll be having. But let's go ahead and bring out another co-host that we do have, the wonderful and only Stacey. Hello, my darling.
Hello, darlings. Hello, darlings.
Hello.
Hello.
How's your day going, my dear?
Coffee, darling. I need coffee.
Coffee.
Just all joking aside, thank you so much, for letting me be here. I love being a co-host of the show. I look forward to it. Sundays are amazing. Next to football season, this is the highlight of my life.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
The Kevin will take a passenger seat to NFL. Sorry.
Well, as you guys know, we have a really amazing guest. We were lucky enough to chat with her for a bit before we get started. We always want to make sure our guests can connect, right? Because sometimes our technology doesn't want to work for us. You know how it is. But I did put something special together for her. So I'm going to go ahead and read this, and then we'll bring her out. Sound like a plan?
I'm down.
Oh, wait. Trisha's in the house.
Yay. Hey, Trish.
Darling. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm just mad.
You look pissed.
Yeah. The guy goes,
Bad damage?
"Oh, yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna need a new rear bumper, new driver's side quarter panel of the bed, new fender flare. I think there was something else." And the guy, I was being nice. I'm like, "Hey, I'll go have this appraised, and maybe it's something you can just pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
So you get your insurance." He goes, "Well, have it appraised and let me know, and I could try to help pay for it." And I'm like, "Help? No, you're going to pay for it."
Yeah.
I think he was on something because when he pulled down the road, there's no way that he didn't see my truck. And he's like, I didn't even see it there. How do you not see a big old Tundra parked? You know,
Really? Right? Tundras are massive. I mean, I have a Tundra now and they're huge. How can you miss a Tundra? I'm
Well,
sorry.
maybe he wasn't seeing anything. Maybe he was like in that hazy ground, like he's just seeing.
Okay, but
whatever.
remember, guys, I drive a 60-foot transit bus, and I've had people hit my bus, and first words out of their mouth are, "Well, I didn't see you. How did you not see me? I am a
Oh,
plus size
wow.
60-foot goddess. How do you not see me?"
No, that's crazy. That is
it's what's
crazy.
And I'm
crazy is
loud. And I'm
if he
loud.
would have backed straight out of the driveway, he
Yeah.
wouldn't have hit my truck. But he backed out and then turned and hit it. And I don't know. He really set me off when he said, well, if you get it appraised, just let me know and I can help pay for it. No, you're going to pay for it all.
Yeah. I
That's
mean, if
that's
he,
where I would have been like, I need your insurance information.
yep.
Yeah.
Let me go on ahead and call the sheriff right now.
I did. I called it.
Yeah.
I called the police. They came out there, took pictures of my vehicle and his vehicle, got both information. I got to pick it up Thursday morning. So, but that's all the cop. I was like, you have to have this report done no later than Thursday morning because I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I know we've
Is
got
it
big plans.
drivable? I mean, is it going to prevent you from being able to drive it?
No. It's still drivable. I just drove it home.
That's good.
I drove it to my mom's.
That's
So
Gotcha.
he's like, he said, I didn't even hit it that hard. I'm like, bro, we saw the whole car shake. The whole truck shook.
I didn't hit it that hard. Okay, but look at all the damage he's done.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like,
You didn't hit it that hard, but you still hit it. How dumb are
yeah.
you?
Yeah.
You could have
Exactly.
walked by and breathed on it and the damn panel fell off.
No,
You
yeah.
still did it. It's still
Yeah.
you. Better fork out that ATM card.
Well, I'm just glad you guys are okay and it wasn't
Yes.
worse. It's a good thing. So, and
Yeah.
at least he was just backing out and not going super fast down a street and rear ending because that could have been way worse. But all right, ladies, well, let's get going because we do have a special guest that's been in the green room waiting for her entrance. So let me bring her out after I do her introduction. Tonight, the circle widens to welcome Shelly Sizemore, an honored guest whose spirit carries the echoes of Salem and the fire of storytellers who refuse to be forgotten. Shelly joins us from Los Angeles, where she lives with her wife and her two beloved dogs. But her heart has always kept one foot in the shadowed history of 1692. A proud woman-owned LGBTQ creator of Cherokee and Chickahominy descent. Bear with me. Shelly is a lifelong dramatist, a seeker of truth, and a woman who, by her own admission, would have absolutely been accused of witchcraft for her refusal to conform. Her debut novel, Whispers of the Pale Witch, arrives in 2026 from Rowan Prose Publishing's Sapphire imprint. The book launches the Beckett Coven series, a haunting tale partially inspired by Shelley's own ancestral ties to the Salem witch trials. Through her writing, she I can't even say this word now. I'm tongue-tied. She resurrects. Oh my gosh. The voices of the silence and invites readers to join the hunt for the Pale Witch. From childhood, Shelley was drawn to the stage, first as a playwright and a producer in Southern California, and then as a creative force in the themed entertainment industry. Two of her own acts available exclusively on Amazon with fully length plays soon to follow. She is a 30-plus year member of the oh my gosh, I'm struggling today. Dramatists
Words are hard, babe. Words are hard.
Guild of America, a testament of her dedication to craft, community, and the power of storytelling. She isn't writing. Shelly can be found if she isn't writing, Shelly can be found traveling, tending her garden, sketching, capturing, and whirled through the camera lens, or cheering the Angel City FC. Her socials, Beckett Coven and Way Out Theater, offer a glimpse into her creative world and the magic she cultivates daily. Today, Shelly also brings her first spark of her series heroine, Kylie Beckett, a forensic photographer who inherits her great aunt's mysterious Salem home. Kylie hopes to uncover the truth of her lineage, but soon learns that Salem wishes have teeth and that the past never sleeps. We are honored to have Shelly step into the circle, storyteller, witchinkin, keeper of the ancestral memory, and conjurer of worlds where history and magic intertwine. Good God, could I read? Holy crap.
It's okay, keep going.
The show must go on. The show must go on.
You kept going. And I even threw Chickahominy at you and you nailed it.
Hello, Shelly.
Hello, how are you guys?
We are great. How are you?
Excellent.
Hey, at least I did, bloopers make it all. I love doing
all
live.
good. That was a lot. I thank you. That was very
You're
kind.
welcome. You're so welcome.
With that.
Okay.
Got something else.
Mama D!
Here is my mom, Dee. And Mom, please meet our wonderful guest in the middle, Shelly Sizemore.
Hi, Shelly.
Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you. All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep. we hear you
Okay,
good, Mom.
perfect. All right. So, yeah, it was nice to eat a meal that wasn't microwaved.
So a little tiny backstory. My mom's water heater poofed and ruined the flooring, the walls, or whatever.
It overheated. Something overheated the element inside, and it blew out the seam. So water was everywhere and went into our neighbors because we live in a condominium. And so they got their place fixed, but our place is still sitting there.
Oh no.
So we're still waiting. So we've been in a hotel for 2 months. Yeah.
What?
It's been fun. It's been real fun. I will tell you right now, I never want to stay in a hotel again. I've had enough already.
Not for that long.
I mean, I'm like, okay, this is not fun.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll come up in my RV and I'll just be mobile catering for you. So I could be like dinner and a show.
There you go.
And if
That would be
you like
fabulous.
if you like table games, I could be a casino too, because I have no qualms about taking anybody's money.
That would be fun too.
But
I
no,
like that part.
on a serious note, Mama D, I would really love to come up to Washington and visit you sometime.
Oh, that would be great. It
I
really would. Yeah. You can, because the whole place is getting torn up and everything's going to be changed in our place. So yeah, we're just going to do the whole 9 yards or
Might as
10,
well.
whatever yards it might be,
Whatever the insurance company pays.
I was going to
Yeah.
say, if the insurance company will go for it, do 12.
Exactly. All right.
So now that we've got, Trisha, there we are. There she is.
Now that we have
you're
the
all
coven.
good, Trisha?
Yeah, you guys went like robotic on me, and then I couldn't hear anything when I came back in. So I don't know. It's working now.
Okay, good.
Good.
I told you the fringe was going to start showing, Cindy. I told you.
So, Shelly, before we get started with the new book that you just completed, and that will be out in September of this year, I am very highly curious of your theater work, because the reason why I ask is because my mom got me into theater when I was very, very young here in Poway, California. So my mom has been in community theater for many, many years, way before I even started. But she, because of her, she got me so much into theater that I did it in high school as a stage manager, and then I stage managed community theater. I wasn't so much the stage person. I was backstage being the boss
Yes.
and running the show.
I can see
But
it.
I love theater. Absolutely love it. And it's all because of my mom. So
Oh,
I'm
very good.
curious.
Yeah.
When did you start your theater? Obviously when you were young, right?
I mean, if you go by what my mother said, which my mother was known for tall tales, so I don't know if this is how accurate this is, but apparently I wrote a holiday, like a Christmas play when I was 6.
Oh,
And that they somehow did that. I doubt I did this. But I'm sure, I know I was involved in the play, but I doubt I wrote it. but
Hey, if Mama said it, it's true. So I'm going with that.
But while I was in grade school, I was very lucky. The choirs that we had at my church were kind of semi-professional. And I got to do a few things with the Tonight Show orchestra,
Oh, how cool.
things like that. So we were able to do some really cool things. So that was kind of like my entry point.
yeah.
And then in high school, I did a little bit more. I did a couple musicals. I kind of had that music background initially.
Right.
And then, but I was constantly, I was weird in that I was constantly writing things in dialogue. I wasn't writing like a short story like normal people. I would always be writing dialogue. So that just kept continuing as I went into college, and I wrote a couple one acts. And my university was so supportive. I went to California Lutheran University, and they even allowed me to write a full length play while I was there. And we got to take it to
Wow.
the theater festival as a reading, and they were very sweet. When I graduated, they named their playwriting award after me, so I get to go back and hand it out
Aw.
periodically.
That's very cool.
But I did,
That was-
I did like local theater. I wrote plays,
Right.
and we do them locally. Cal Lutheran let me do a couple after I left. It was kind of like this little playwright in residence for a short period of time, and I did that for a while. And it's hard. It wasn't. And back then, this was before the internet.
Yeah.
Like, you wanted to submit stuff. It was very difficult. You had to print it out, send a self-addressed stamped envelope to get it back, and it was a thing. It's
Yeah.
much easier now to submit things. And so I kind of pulled back a bit. Life got in the way, and I was also trying to attempt screenwriting, that kind of thing. I did that a little bit, and I was submitting to a particular production company, and we were getting close to maybe doing something, and then I just kind of stepped away. I needed to take a break,
Right.
and that's when I got into themed entertainment, and which means I get to ride roller coasters for a living, so that's fun.
That's fun.
Oh,
I mean, heck.
that's
So
I
that's
didn't
my
know that was such a job. Is that really a thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, because
It really.
I work. I can't say who I work for, but I work for a
Right.
very large company,
Mhm.
and we design and build theme parks and attractions.
I think
And
that's cool.
I have a blast. I get to do a lot of very cool things in my day job. But I was really focused on that for a while, but I really miss writing. And about 10 years ago, I was like, I want to do something. And I had this story that I had written as maybe like a TV pilot. And I was like, well, maybe I could write a novel. I've never tried doing that before, but I don't know, maybe I can do that. So in 2019, my wife and I went to World Pride in New York. And when we were back east, I was like, Salem's not that far. Can we just go? I hadn't been there since I was a teenager. And when I was a teenager, we were just kind of stopped for lunch and left. I didn't really get, and by the way, I had no idea that my family went back to Salem. I had no clue.
Oh,
When I was
God.
that was not something that we were ever told about.
okay.
And so 2019, we go to Salem. I'm taking photos and everything. And 2 weeks before we left on that trip, I was doing genealogy research for a totally different reason. And I found out both of my great grandmothers on my dad's side went back to Salem.
Wow.
And not only
That's
that,
pretty cool.
but one of the relatives was involved in the Salem witch trials.
Oh,
Wow.
And I didn't get
Oh.
enough time to really look a lot about him, but I got just enough so I could go do a few things. And so Deacon Lieutenant Nathaniel Ingersoll was my 11th great uncle, and he owned a tavern in Salem Village.
Wow.
And almost all of the victims were brought there. I say victims because they were the victims.
yeah.
Were brought there from different parts of the village and then eventually from the town to Ingersoll's Ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
And they were kept there overnight after they were arrested. And then initially they were going to do the questioning in the tavern. And too many people showed up that first day and they had to move it down the meeting house. But they did, it seems like they did a few of the questionings in the tavern. So the tavern was very, very important. And there is a building that's still standing on that corner. It's debated whether that's the actual original tavern or not. But I did get to go there and take photos and things on that trip. And that's what kind of dipped my toe in.
Uh-huh.
And that's when I started doing a ton of research. I'm very into research when I'm writing. I want to find out a lot of, so I can pepper it with a lot of details and things. And oh my God, the rabbit hole I went down.
Oh, I bet.
And even more so than I was ever expecting. And so when 2020 hit and we were all at home and I got furloughed, I was trying to occupy my time. And I'm like, all right, I gotta sit down and try to write this thing. And that's how I started writing this first book.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. I got to tell you a quick story though. Okay,
Yeah.
you remember Judy, Cindy? Remember
Yeah.
Judy? Okay, and we had another friend. They both. Okay, we have a Salem, Washington, right?
Yes.
So they wanted to go see the witches and all that stuff. They wanted to go see the town that had all the witches and all that stuff, and they went to Salem, Washington. I'm like, you guys, wrong place. Wrong place. They go, we realized that when we got there. It's like, oh my God. Was that hilarious or what?
That's funny.
That cracked me up.
That's hilarious. So funny.
So yeah, it was crazy.
So when you were establishing your ideas and your characters, what was going through your mind to bring them to life? Like, what was it that triggered, like, I need to do this and I need to make these characters?
So initially when I wrote this thing, like I said, it was kind of like a TV pilot. My initial thought was that it was like rival covens, and that the MC who is still Kylie Beckett, that was my original MC, that she ended up, something triggered her to end up in Salem. She didn't know anything about her family, and she gets thrown into this thing with these different people that she doesn't know, and there's something bizarre in her great aunt's cellar.
Yeah.
And she has to deal with this thing. And so you don't learn a lot in the first episode. The first episode is very much establishing who's who and the rivalries and all that kind of stuff. So I had that as a basis, and I had kind of written a Bible, a little bit of where I wanted to go with the story. But once I found out about my ancestry and all of those different characters and who was dealing with who, that totally got infused into what I was writing. And the villain was kind of amorphous. I didn't have like a set idea about her. And all of a sudden I kind of thought, what if this person has experienced mental illness? What if there's
Okay.
something going on with that? And that's triggering why she's doing the things she's doing. And on a personal note, my mother experienced mental illness, had mental illness while she was alive. And so I had that background. And so there are a lot of things about my personal experience that I've kind of peppered in. Of course, my mother was nowhere near what my villain is like. but
That's a good thing.
that up. I had that part. And then I wanted Kylie to be a descendant of these people that had been in the witch trials. But not just, I wanted her to be a descendant of someone who was a victim, one of the accused, and also one of the accusers, to have that complexity of being from both families.
Wow.
And so I chose the Ingersolls as one of her family lines, and the other family line to be Bridget Bishop.
Okay.
And Bridget Bishop, if you don't know, was the first woman to be executed during the Salem witch trials. She's actually the first woman to be executed in Salem, period.
Yeah.
And she was not the first one accused as the witch panic started, but she was the easiest target for them to prosecute right away.
Right.
And all 5 of her indictments, Nathaniel was listed as a witness on her indictments. And I think that was the only time he was listed as a witness. And so that I just had all these questions. And I first thought Nathaniel was just a monster. And then the more I learned about him, the more complex he got.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I realized how much it was, there was a lot going on to trigger why all of this happened. I know there's a lot of theories that people have tossed out over the years, but I didn't want to read those theories. I didn't want to read about historians. I got a hold of this, which is the records of the Salem witch hunt. It's basically
Yeah.
described, and you can see all my little note tabs.
Wow.
So this was my source material, not historians. I went through this, and I went through it like I was an investigator. Like, this is a crime scene. And I wanted to know who was accusing who and why.
Gotcha.
As opposed to why the women were targeted.
Yeah.
It's starting like I want to start with what was going on in the accusers' heads. And that helped fuel a lot of what I've written so far. Because I'm working on the 3rd book right now. The first one is on takeoff. It comes out in September. The second one comes out a year from September in 2027. And if I could get my ass in gear, the 3rd one will come out in 2028. But it's this whole arc. I couldn't tell the story in one book. I had to tell it in 2 books. And the initial one, we're starting in modern times. I have it set as 2019.
Okay.
And I wanted to root it in now so people could have an easy entry point. Theoretically, the people you're going to meet are people you might know. And so, so have that easy way of getting into the story as opposed to me starting in 1692.
Right.
And I also wanted to point out that the Salem witch trials happened because people were going after the other, right? And I wanted to talk about and think about who are the others now, and those are mentally ill people, homeless people, LGBTQ people, and have that be kind of our grounding point for now, so it was easier for you to understand how the Salem witch trials could have happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then we will start going further back and dealing with things from the past. But for this first book, we'll be talking about the Salem witch trials a bit and how they play into what is happening with this current storyline. And that current storyline will continue through the whole book, through all the books. But there's going to be these devices that I use to be able to get us back in time.
Okay.
and really sift into what happened in 1692, and in particular what happened between Nathaniel and Bridget.
Now,
Wow.
Shelly, if I may, through your research and through all this writings and stuff, what have you learned about human nature?
Oh my gosh. So have you guys ever watched the TV series The Traitors?
Yes.
That is
I
the
have.
Salem witch trials in a nutshell.
Really?
That is, they could just replace
Really?
traitors
Wow.
with witches in
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
That is
Okay,
it.
I can see that. Okay, I can see
Because
that.
basically what's happened is somebody tells you there's somebody awful that's going to harm you and your family,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to find them before they come and harm you.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And you watch that show and you'll see people, they start conspiring against each other, right?
Yes.
And 9 times out of 10, they get the wrong person.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
So
It's rare that they find someone that's
that is
actually
a great way for you to understand what it was like, but it was a little more complicated than that,
Yeah.
obviously. So people ask me, why did the witch trials start? Or they ask me what was up with the afflicted girls, and those, because they're kind of two things that are happening at the same time. So do you mind if I do a history lesson? Is that cool?
No.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, this
So,
is your show.
I will talk about the Salem witch trials for hours if you like.
And we will listen. And we will listen.
That's fine.
So let me talk geography first, because that's important.
Okay.
So there were two parts of Salem back then. There was Salem Village, which was the agricultural part, and then there was Salem Town, and that's what we now know as Salem.
Okay.
Salem Village is where we now know as Peabody and Danvers, that area. And Salem Town, they were mostly like a merchant area. There was a lot of trading. There was a lot of ships in the harbor. It was very urban. People were not as urban as we are today, but people were kind of penned in a little bit more. Whereas out in the village, all the houses were kind of spread out.
Right.
You couldn't really grow crops in town. The soil wasn't good at all. Some people had orchards. Bridget had an orchard, and those were prized in town because this is not cider, this is water, but this is a tankard similar to kind of what they would have had at the time. And the way the Puritans purified their water was through cider. They made fermented cider. They were actually drunk all the time.
Oh yeah.
To some degree.
I believe that.
And
yeah.
so apples were a prized commodity, but they couldn't grow very much in town because of the soil. So Salem Village very much became the agricultural arm. And so there started to become some tensions between the two as we see it now with urban and agricultural areas. And the people out in the village were expected to go into town to attend the meeting house every Sunday for hours. When they were at the meeting house, they were at the meeting house for I think there was a 3 to 4 hour period in the morning. They would take a lunch break, and then they had to come back for another 3 to 4 hours. Mm-hmm. And it took about 3 hours round trip to get from the village to town at the time, depending on how bad the roads were. Could be about 2 hours if things were good. So that was a long day for them. And they were kind of getting tired of that. They also didn't like paying all the taxes for the town. The town was wanting them to pay taxes for the militia, even though they felt that the village folks felt that they were a little more at risk in the village. And so my direct ancestors living in town, in an area between what is now Essex Street down to the South River. But the extended family had moved out to the village. The patriarch of the family was Richard Ingersoll, and he had moved out to the village and started farming out there. And his youngest son, Daniel, stayed out there along with a couple of the sisters who married into the Walcotts and the Holtons. Okay. And Hutchins was another family. And if you look at a map of Salem Village, Marilyn Roach made a wonderful map in her books. And I started looking at all the names on the map, and I realized all of my Ingersoll relatives lived right around the meeting house. They were in the center part of the village. And Nathaniel he became known as the father of the village because he had spearheaded the effort to try to build a church in the village. And so in the 1670s, they started this effort. Nathaniel was granted a license to create a tavern so he could feed and house some of the people that came up to build a meeting house. And in 1679, they finally built the thing. And they got a minister, but within a 10-year period of time, they went through 3 ministers. There was a lot of infighting in the village. There were a lot of people that were intermarried in the village, and they kept like arguing over what they wanted in terms of a minister. And so they kept hiring people and firing them. One of the people they hired and fired was George Burroughs. He ended up becoming accused during the trials. And by 1689, they were looking for a new minister. Reverend Samuel Parris was not quite a reverend yet. He was a failed businessman. He had come over and went to Harvard when his father came over here. And when his father died, he took his money and went down to the Caribbean and bought a plantation. And not too long after, a hurricane took it out. And so he had to come back up to Boston. And he brought 2 enslaved people with him, Tituba Indian and John Indian. I want to point out that their surnames were Indian. And it says that in the trial transcripts that Tituba, an Indian woman, they specifically call her out as that. She's been labeled as a Black woman for a long time for various reasons. But I just wanted to point out that she was actually probably Indigenous. And a lot of people forget that Indigenous people at that time were also enslaved.
Yes.
They were.
More so. Yeah. I mean, even more so before and some asshat decided to bring Black people over and enslave them. And so he comes back up to Boston. He doesn't have work. He's starting a family, and he goes, I want to be a preacher because they make money. And at the time, a living wage was about 30 pounds or so. You could have a comfortable living on that. A lot of skilled laborers made that wage. Ministers made 60 pounds a year. And so that was double. And so somebody heard Samuel Parris speak, somebody in the village, and they decided he was their dude. He was going to come and be their new minister. So they make him an offer. He gets a sweetheart deal. He gets 70 pounds a year. They give him land just past Nathaniel's tavern. And they don't just give him the land while he's a minister, they give it to him in perpetuity, which means his son's going to get it, which is insane considering how many ministers they've gone through the last few years. Like, why would you do this? So I don't know if Nathaniel got this going and was like, this is how we're going to keep somebody, is if we have to give him land and we have to keep him that way. But anyway, so he gets situated, and he kind of promises that the 2 families that had really helped him get on board were Nathaniel's family and the Putnams. And so he kind of promises them that he's going to make Nathaniel a deacon, and then he's going to make Edward Putnam a deacon. And that kind of helps Putnam everything. So he becomes minister, and for 2 years, he does not put Nathaniel and Edward Putnam in as deacons. He kind of holds it over them. And of course, by 1691, everyone hates him because that's how Salem Village rolls. And so there's a different committee that had been installed, not the committee that brought Parris in, but a new church committee. And that one's made up of Francis Nurse, who's Rebecca Nurse's husband, and a whole bunch of other people that are not fans of Parris. Francis Nurse is named the person who's supposed to go collect Samuel Parris's money or his salary, and he doesn't do it. And the Putnams and the Ingersolls are basically trying to support Paris because no one else will pay his salary. So by the end of 1691, things are getting super tense. Paris really wants to lock in Nathaniel and Edward Putnam. And so he finally makes Nathaniel Ingersoll the first deacon, and he makes Edward Putnam the second deacon. And he kind of needed deacons. Those deacons were the people that went out and kind of helped the sick and people that were needy and kind of assisted with that kind of work around the parish.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but Paris is still not getting his salary, and he's starting to freak out that he's not getting enough money, and then he's not going to even have wood for the winter. And he starts running around and complaining about it and making a stink with other ministers. And so by January of 1692, he is wound up like a top. And the other thing that's going on is that Salem does not have a charter at this point. They had lost their charter. The governor had to go to England to go get a new charter. That meant the court system was stalled. So there were people sitting in the Salem jail that couldn't have a trial because there's no court system.
Wow.
So there's a lot of real horrible tensions going on.
Yeah.
So January 1692, Paris is steaming. His children kind of wander off at times. Betty Paris was his oldest daughter. She was about 9. Abigail Williams was his niece. We don't really know why she was living with them. And she's 11. And they kind of just wander away. They were probably, to be honest, trying to get away from him because he was probably cranky and everything, and also because it was cold. And they very likely may have gone just next door to Nathaniel's place. He always had an open door. He and his wife, Hannah, did not have children. They adopted a son, Benjamin, who was an adult. But they just kind of had an open door policy. The other house that was just north of them was Jonathan Walcott. He had a daughter, Mary Walcott, who was 18 years old, and his second wife was Deliverance Putnam. And she was the sister of Thomas Putnam, whose daughter was Anne Putnam Jr. So here we've got, you can see the circle of the afflicted girls coming together.
Right, right.
And so the first child that starts having the symptoms is Betty Paris. And I'm gonna tell you what her symptoms are, and I'm gonna say why I think what happened to her. Her symptoms were she was staring off into space. She was flinching when nothing was there. She was crawling under the table to hide. And she was making odd noises. To me, these are all symptoms of an abused child.
Right.
And at the time, it was a common practice for male heads of household to provide correction to their wives and their children and their servants. And correction meant corporal punishment.
Yeah.
And so later on, about a month or so later on, Paris actually removes Betty from the house and sends her to stay with a friend, and her symptoms miraculously improve. So to me, that's what's going on with Betty. Now, what happens after that point is complicated and gets a little crazy with everything that's going on. But Abigail is in the household with her. Abigail, it was probably a servant if she was, because that was how, like, even if you had lost your parents, if you didn't have a place to live, you went to live with other people, you generally were treated as a servant.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's seeing Betty being ill and getting out of doing her chores and not getting punished and these different things. And she very likely started emulating the same things to possibly get out of what she was doing at home. And then Ann Putnam Jr. starts with this. Mary Walcott starts with it. Mercy Lewis was a servant in the Putnam household. She starts with it. And there was the teenagers at that time were kind of over Puritanism. They really weren't into sitting in the pews for hours on end listening to Paris talk. And so there was this rebellion thing kind of going on too. And this not only gave them an excuse to get out of those things, but it also gave them power. Adolescent girls, particularly adolescent servant girls, were the least powerful people unless you were an enslaved person. Mm-hmm. And so they were getting attention. They were getting out of things. And initially it might have been a game or something that they kind of were like, oh, this is cool. We're getting attention and we're getting out of all the stuff we don't want to do. But that turns because when Paris can't figure out what's going on with the children, he calls in the doctor. Dr. William Griggs was a neighbor, and he asks them, why are they afflicted? What is going on with them? And William Griggs can't figure it out, and he lights the match and says, they are bewitched, because he can't figure out what's going on with them.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So to understand...
What's the saying? Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, that's exactly it too.
And male physicians at the time were displacing midwives. Midwives had been the person who very much was the caregiver in the community up until that point. They birthed babies. They provided healing herbs. They were there with the body after someone died, and they cleansed it. They were very much that person, and male doctors were starting to usurp that. So we've got this happening. So that now you have to understand, what does this mean? What does witchcraft and the devil mean to this particular community at this time? So the 1600s were one of the most dangerous times for women. Not only because of childbirth and illness, but because of accusations of witchcraft. There were thousands of women who were killed in the 1600s because of accusations of witchcraft.
Yeah.
And James I came into power in 1603. He was paranoid about witches and demons, and he helped create the atmosphere in the UK for things to get worse. They had been going on in Scotland for a while, where he came from, and he just made it worse and sent it throughout the UK once he united the kingdom. And so we have Matthew Hopkins, who's in the UK in the early part of the 1600s. He's a self-professed witch hunter, and he's the one that devises the thing of throwing somebody into a pond, and if they drowned, they were not a witch. If they floated, they were a witch, and then we'd go drag them out and execute them.
Right. Yeah.
So if you were accused of a witch, you were dead.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then he also devised the witch mark test, which comes into play in June of 1692, where it was believed that a witch. So back up. They believed that the devil was there. He was trying to get rid of Christianity. He was trying to harm anybody that was practicing Christianity. And the way he was able to go after people, he couldn't affect human beings directly. The only way he could do that was through intermediaries, and those intermediaries were called witches. So they were regular human beings that had decided to go into cahoots with the devil. But once they did that, he got sustenance from them as well. So they believed in this weird thing that if you were a witch, you had this weird extra tit that the devil could drink blood from it, and that's how you would be able to sustain him. It was awful, weird, creepy stuff.
And now we just call them politicians.
No kidding. It's almost like what's happening now.
Yes. So, but they would use this test, and so they would perform this horrifically invasive search of the accused person's body. They would often shave their head, and they would poke them with pins and things, and it was awful. And that was one of the things that Matthew Hopkins devised to suss out the witches. So all of this is going on. We didn't have, there were some witch accusations that were going on in New England, but not a lot. And they really didn't end up in somebody dying. Every once in a while they did, but Bridget Bishop was accused before 1692. She was accused in 1680 after her second husband was killed or he died. He died of old age. But her stepsons thought she had killed him through witchcraft. And they were mad that she got his estate.
That's what I'm sorry to interrupt. That's what I was just about to ask was it really that they thought that she killed him, or was it more they were pissed because she got his land?
It might have been a little bit of both, but they were more upset that she got. Now this was one instance where that came up. I want to reiterate that there was this whole theory of that the Salem possessed writers came up with, that it was a land grab. In a few cases, yes, that might have been what the case was. But to be honest, if anybody tells you this is the golden bullet, this is what did it, that's not it. Every single person that was accused, there was a different reason and a different person had a grudge against them. There wasn't. It's not that easy. It's very complicated. Yeah. So let's go back to what's happening in 1692. So they believe that these witches were the intermediaries of the devil, and so the adults start putting pressure on the children to tell them who the witches are that are afflicting them. And to the girls' credit, they don't say anything right away, to be honest, and because they know this is not real. But there's so much pressure put on them, and even to the point where, so one of the Ingersoll extended relatives, Mary Sibley, comes over, and she was the aunt of Mary Walcott. And she comes over to Tituba and says, "Let's bake a witch cake." So this is something that's interesting. The black enslaved women and the indigenous women, they didn't know anything about witchcraft. There was no witchcraft. All of the witchcraft, or the folk magic that was going on, is what it really was all on the European side. All of these things like Venus glass and the witch cake and projection stuff, that was puppets. All of that was European folk magic and superstitious stuff. And so Mary Sibley comes over and they bake this horrible wheat cake thing, or rye bread cake thing. They put the girl's urine into it, and then they feed it to the dog, and that's supposed to suss out the witch. Well, the dog gets ill. This is Paris's dog, and people like their dogs would follow them around everywhere. And so this poor dog is now ill. Paris is furious at this point. And this is kind of what triggers the girls to finally give in and tell him names. So, of course, the first person they name is poor Tituba.
Yeah.
And then the second person they name is Sarah Good. Sarah Good was a beggar woman. Her story is awful. Her father committed suicide when she was 17, so she ended up having a horrible time trying to get a husband. I think she went through husbands. Like, one died, and then the second one was just a deadbeat. So, and she was having a horrible time trying to just find a place for her and her children to live. She shows up at Paris's house and asks for food. He kind of grumbles at her. And I think he might have even said, just go to church more often. And he gives a little bit of food to her daughter, Dorothy. And she mumbles something when she leaves. And he thinks she leveled a curse at him. During her trial, she said, "Thank you." And so she was something that was kind of seen as a burden on the community. So she was the girls go after her. Sarah Osborne was probably another person's name they were hearing the adults say. Sarah Osborne, or specifically Paris, was saying, Sarah Osborne had not been to services since Paris took over, and he might have taken that personally. She was ill. It was her reason why she was not coming. But later on, her sons accuse her second husband of beating her. So she might have not been coming to services because she was an abused woman.
Right.
So she's the third target.
Wow.
So they file an official complaint. They are arrested on, I believe it's February 29th. On March 1st, the first questioning start. And Jonathan Corwin and John Hawthorne come up to the village. These guys were merchants. They weren't that was their main gig. Their second gig was magistrates. They were kind of like appointed to see over these cases. And any case that was coming before them. Bridget Bishop came before John Hawthorne 4 years before the Salem witch trials, which we'll get to when we talk about Bridget. But so they come up and they start doing these questionings. John Hawthorne was really horrible in how he questioned people. He basically, it was constantly leading them into trying to get them to confess. And these women were not skilled at dealing with this. They didn't get an attorney. They were just there answering the questions by themselves.
Right.
The Sarahs both deny what's going on. And Hawthorne turns that into, well, of course you would deny it because you're witches. And so they finish with their questioning and they're pretty much going to be sent off to jail. Chichiba comes in. And Chichiba just saw what happened with the two of them. And she goes, and I think in her head, she's going, I'm going to do this a little different. And I've already been kind of caught with all this other, the witchcraft stuff with the witch cake and the Venus glass things. So I'm just going to say I did it. So she says that her mistress in Barbados her original mistress in Barbados taught her magic, and that she didn't mean to do this, but she did sign the devil's book. And she gets into all this crazy storytelling because she thinks if she says something, that will get John Hawthorne to stop asking her questions. But it doesn't. He just asks more and more questions. And so she gets questioned for a couple of days.
Wow.
And by the end, she develops this crazy story about that there's other witches and it's not just the three of them, there's more people, and they're all coming to harm the girls, and then she's apologizing for harming the girls. And then by the end of it, she gets so like she's just done, she can't talk anymore, and she goes, I'm blind, and then she just stops talking.
So to just kind of to interject for a second, but if you realize as you're listening, that is absolute modern interrogation techniques.
Absolutely.
They just absolutely wore them down,
and that's why you get an attorney to get it to stop.
Yeah,
right. And even back then though, I mean, attorneys, really would it have helped?
No, they didn't have attorneys. Yeah, they didn't have that process. So
exactly,
none of that was in place. So they wouldn't have they had no way to defend themselves.
No.
And Hawthorne was very manipulative. So the three of them get carted off to the Boston jail. But now the village is going, wait, but just said there's more people. So now they start looking around going, who are the other people? We have to find the other people. So that's how and so initially it's just a few girls, and the next person who gets accused is Martha Corey, because Martha Corey started questioning. She didn't believe the girls. Mm-hmm. She thought they were lying. And so they drag her in. And then the next person after that is Rebecca Nurse. And the Putnams had a beef with Rebecca Nurse. And so they drag her in. And the Ingersolls actually had a bit of a beef with her too, because Benjamin Holton, Nathaniel's nephew, had a run-in with Rebecca a few years before. His pig had gotten in her garden. And gardens back then were a big deal for one of a household. It was their apothecary, and had vegetables and all different. That was very important to them. So for him to get his pig to run all through her garden and trample it, she was mad.
Oh, for sure.
And that's where you see a lot of these women get in trouble because they were mad about something.
Right.
They were allowed to be mad about something. So, but right after she gets mad at him, he becomes ill and he dies.
Oh.
And so the Ingersolls had a beef with her about that. And then the Putnam Sr. in particular had a beef with Rebecca Nurse because she had been her midwife. And Ann Putnam Sr. had lost several children. And so in childbirth. And so she had a beef with Rebecca because of that. And then, of course, Paris has a beef with her because her husband won't collect his salary. And she is quite old. She's in her 70s and is deaf. Mm-hmm. And her testimony is awful because you can tell she can't quite understand what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. The next victim is Dorothy Good, Sarah Good's 4-year-old daughter. My asshole cousin, Mary Walcott, that was the first person she accused, was a 4-year-old.
Oh my God.
And Dorothy, thank God, is not questioned in front of a crowd. They question her in private. But I can't imagine what it would have been like for a 4-year-old for Hawthorne and them to be questioning her.
That's horrible.
That's what I just started to say is you're 4 years old and they're saying, just tell us that you're evil. Just
that
tell us that you're a witch.
Yeah.
And you have no idea.
Yeah. No, she had no idea. She probably could barely speak. And her mother is gone. They've taken her mother away. I don't know who was caring for her before that. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they went after her, because all of a sudden she was a burden. So she gets thrown into the Salem jail. Dorothy gets thrown in the Salem jail. Her mother is in the Boston jail. So Dorothy's by herself in the Salem jail.
Oh.
Her mother doesn't come back until the first part of June. And then while her mother is back, her mother gives birth to her sibling who dies in jail.
What?
And then her mother, Sarah, is executed in the middle of July. Dorothy is by herself again. And she doesn't get bailed out until December. She is messed up beyond belief. And she never recovers. She gets passed around.
Wow.
The Putnams try to take care of her, but they can't manage her because she's so messed up.
Right.
She has a couple of children out of wedlock. And there is a Dorothy Good who's in her 70s who is found dead in a ditch in Connecticut decades later, and that might have been her.
Wow.
So that's the worst case out of all of them to me.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So I was just going to say, no, we're at the top of the hour. Does anyone have questions?
Yeah. Before I head into Bridget Bishop.
Okay, so going in with all that and after with your with your research and things, so this just kind of came to me right now. What is the most dangerous sentence a person can tell themselves? Like in light of everything that we've talked about, what's the most dangerous sentence somebody could tell themselves?
Oh, how do you mean? You mean in terms of what could have gotten them into trouble?
No, just in general, like just your opinion with it. Just it could be modern, not modern. It could have anything to do with anything. Just if you were to sit down and ask yourself, what's the most dangerous sentence somebody could tell themselves?
Oh,
I'm going to kill someone. I mean,
There you
that's
go.
not a smart. That would be a very dangerous thing to be saying to yourself, to say
Well,
that,
think-
or even saying it out
yeah.
loud.
That is a really good
And,
question.
and
I have
think
never
about
said that.
it.
You kind of stunned me. I'm not quite sure how to
Yeah,
answer that
that's
question.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
think about it too, guys. No matter what, even nowadays, people are arrested and put in jail for things they didn't do. It still happens.
oh yeah,
And
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
so it's like
we haven't changed that much.
No, we haven't.
No, we haven't.
We're still extremely, backwards in that.
We've just learned how to do it with
Especially
technology.
now, we're very backwards. We're in a big fat hole.
Yeah.
I don't know how deep we're going to go, but we're deep.
I mean,
Well,
so to
go
answer
ahead,
your
Sally.
question, and this comes up in the book because my villain has. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to ruin it for people.
I'm like,
Right.
yeah, please don't, because I'm going to
have-
pre-buy the minute I can.
Yeah, if you guys haven't read it yet, I don't want to ruin it. If anybody has read it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But she's been through the ringer, but there is a part, even though you've been through the ringer and you might have mental illness from it, you do get to choose whether you're going to be evil or not evil, right? You do get to choose whether you're going to be baneful or not baneful. And for whatever reason, I think that banefulness is just inside someone, right? Or that evil is inside someone, no matter what happens to them, it's there. And you'll see that through the course of me going, doing some flashbacks and things like that with her, where this is just who she's been for a long time, irregardless of what's happened to her. And so the worst thing you could say to yourself is, I will do this.
There you go.
I will go down this path.
That's exactly what I was thinking, because especially like with what you said just now, nature versus nurture.
Yes.
I mean, some of us are created, some of us are born, as far as just in just nefarious type of things.
And with the afflicted girls, I feel that some of them, they're complicated. Some of them were doing this for sport. And there's even a moment at the end of March. So when I'm looking in the witch trial transcripts book, I'm looking for all the Ingersolls. I'm trying to find out the different thing with the Ingersolls. And I found two very interesting pieces of testimony that often go under the radar. The first one happened in March. Hannah Ingersoll, Nathaniel's wife, is they would do these weird prayer services to help pray over the afflicted girls, and they tended to do them at the Ingersoll's house because they had a big great room where it was easy to fit people into. And somebody comes up to Hannah and asks her, I hear Goody Proctor is next. And Hannah goes, no, that's not a thing. And on cue, one of the afflicted girls is nearby, hears this, and starts pointing in the corner going, Goody Proctor, she's hurting me right now. And Hannah Ingersoll, ballsy woman that she was, or maybe she's not ballsy because the Ingersolls were in on it, says, oh, stop that, you're lying. Now, Martha Corey had just gotten dragged into the questioning a few weeks later for doing almost the same thing, but Hannah doesn't. And Hannah stops her, and the girl, they don't say who the girl's name is in the testimony, but the girl says, oh, Goody Ingersoll, you must give us some sport. I'm like, what? You've just given us the reason why at least this particular afflicted girl is doing it.
Right.
And then there's another piece of testimony. Sarah Ingersoll was my great aunt. She had married Samuel Ingersoll the Elder, my great uncle, and she lived in town. A lot of people in history books, if you ever see her listed as Nathaniel Ingersoll's daughter, that is incorrect. That is somebody who does not know the genealogy and just decided that she lived with Nathaniel and Hannah. That is incorrect. She was a grown-ass woman living in town with her husband and her children. And like I said earlier, my folks lived in Salem town on a strip of 2-acre land that Richard Ingersoll was given when he first got there. It went from what is now Essex Street down to the South River and Daniel Street over to what is now the Maritime Park that's there. It's a decent sized chunk. And she lived at the far end of it. And on the opposite end of Essex Street, which back then was known as Main Street, across from where my 10th great-grandparents lived, was Beadle's Tavern. And that's where George Jacobs Sr. was questioned. So this piece of testimony was stuffed into his folder, I guess. And it relates an incident where Sarah Ingersoll was on the street. Sarah Churchill, who was George Jacobs Sr.'s servant and the one that accused him, is very distraught. And Sarah Ingersoll wants to know what's wrong with her. Sarah Churchill says, "I am undone. I have lied." And Sarah Churchill's like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, she basically lied about George Jacobs. And Sarah Ingersoll was like, "Why would you do that?" And Sarah Churchill responds, "Because they threatened me." She doesn't say who, but the Putnams were wanting a political position that George Jacobs held. That is the first warrant where people's names are not listed as the complainants on the warrant. So it was starting to get a little twitchy at that point because, like I said, up until then, it's the Ingersolls and the Putnams that are doing all the complaining. But most of the complaints were done in March were done by the Putnams. Things shift dramatically in April. April 4th, Nathaniel Ingersoll himself and Jonathan Walcott go to town and file a complaint. They file it against Elizabeth Proctor and Sarah Cloyce. Elizabeth Proctor was a rival tavern owner. They had just gotten a license to run a tavern in 1691. Nathaniel lost his license in 1691. Sarah Cloyce was the sister of Rebecca Nurse. And the Sunday right before then, Paris had gotten up on the pulpit and basically gloated over them catching Rebecca Nurse. Sarah Cloyce got up and stormed out of the church, and either she slammed the door or the door slammed shut because of the wind. But Nathaniel would have had a front row view to that because he was sitting in a chair right next to Paris as deacon. So they go in, they file this complaint. This is where things change dramatically. This is where we have an escalation takes place this day, because Hawthorne and Corwin freak out when the Ingersolls show up, because now it's not just the usual people complaining. It's somebody who's Nathaniel was considered an extremely moderate and calm person. He was who you went to if you had a dispute and didn't know how to resolve it. And so Hawthorne and Corwin go, whoa, no, this is a little much for us. We need to talk to some folks. So they go talk to the government and say, look, seems to be getting out of hand. This is a little more involved than what we thought it was. What should we do? Lieutenant Governor Danforth is, remember, he's like the assistant governor. The main governor that just got elected is in London, and Danforth's like, I don't want all this happening on my watch. We have to fix this.
It's above my pay grade for real.
Above my pay grade, but I'm gonna try to fix it as best I can because I don't want to be in trouble while the big guy's gone. So they wait a week. They finally arrest Elizabeth and Sarah, and they bring them to town. and they have this next questioning is in the main meeting house in town, which is much bigger than the one in the village. And Danforth is there, and a whole bunch of other members of the government. So it's not just Hawthorne and Corwin asking the questions. It's like we've got the Massachusetts Bay Colony government sitting in front of us. The girls do the performance of their lifetime. It is off the fucking rails. Excuse me for cursing.
No, you're
but fine. They're saying they are on fire. They are saying that Elizabeth Proctor's specter is up in the rafters. It gets way out of control.
Wow.
John Proctor steps in at one point trying to defend his wife. They accuse him. He gets arrested. And Mary Warren, their servant, was one of the accusers at this point. She may or may not have had a crush on John Proctor, probably more so his son than him. He was in his 50s. His son was more her age. She was in her early 20s. And now both of her employers have been accused. And Mary Warren is freaking out. And she goes back to Salem and goes, oh, I'm suddenly not afflicted. I'm fine. We're good. It's all good. We shouldn't be. And the afflicted girls are like,
Hey, you're going off script. Going rogue, bro. You're going rogue.
So guess what happens a week later? April 18th, there is a warrant. The next warrant is issued. It's John Putnam. He's in his 70s. He's a bit older. And the one and only time Ezekiel Cheever files a complaint. Ezekiel Cheever was the clerk of the court. And so he's working with Hawthorne and Corwin. So John Hawthorne was writing up all these warrants after the complaint was filed. He would write up the warrant. And so he clearly wrote the warrant. It's got Giles Corey, Abigail Hobbs, and Mary Warren on it. Giles Corey had been freaking out after his wife's arrest and trying to backtrack because he kind of threw her under the bus a little bit during his testimony. He didn't mean to, I don't think, but so he's very upset. So he's causing a ruckus. So they grab him. Abigail Hobbs has been running through the forest at night for some unknown reason, so she's easy. So they drag her into it. And then Mary Warren, because she's been going, I'm not afflicted anymore, and they've got to nail her. So, but almost as an afterthought, it's like it was written in above the other names. Hawthorne squeezes in Bridget Bishop, wife of Edward Bishop, Sawyer. So there were at least four Edward Bishops in the Salem area at this time.
Wow.
Edward Bishop the Sawyer lived in town. Out in the village, there was Edward Bishop Sr., Edward Bishop Jr., and Edward Bishop III, and that's how they were known as.
These guys were pretty uncreative with naming, huh?
Right.
The sucky thing is they probably weren't related. That's
a bad part.
The three Edward Bishops out in the village were related to each other, but the Edward Bishop in town was not related to them, most likely.
You're running around with these guys' names and you're not even, associated with them, and they're making your name bad.
So Edward Bishop the Sawyer signed. David O. Green is considered the definitive genealogist of Bridget Bishop. And he finally pulled us apart because for centuries, historians were confusing Bridget Bishop and Sarah Bishop. They were both married to Edward Bishops. Bridget Bishop was married to the Sawyer. Sarah Bishop was married to Edward Bishop Jr. out in the village. Sarah Bishop ran an illegal tavern out in the village. And she was causing a lot of problems. They were playing shovelboard in the middle of the night. I don't know what that is, but some kind of game. And drinking. Oh my God.
Wait,
she had all these young people coming in.
Shuffleboard? Seriously?
Shovelboard, not shuffleboard.
Oh, shovel.
Shovelboard. I think it's an early precursor to shuffleboard, but it involved a shuffle. It was very loud. So her neighbors were complaining a lot.
God.
And she had all these young people over, and they were concerned that she was harming them and getting them into trouble. She had teenagers and young adults at that point. So,
Gotcha.
So we've got these two goody bishops. So Edward the Sawyer, David L. Green figured this out. He looked at the property documents. Edward Bishop the Sawyer signed his name with an X. Bridget Bishop also signed her name with an X. The Edwards out in the village, Edward Sr. signed his name EB. Edward Bishop Jr. signed his name out, and Edward Bishop III also signed his name out. These are different men. So Bridget gets tacked onto this warrant. The next day, that day, she is dragged up to the village and locked up in the ordinary with everyone else, the other 3 people. And on April 19th, they question her. She is the last to be questioned, as far as we can tell. And when she is brought in, Mary Warren has just collapsed onto the ground and has passed out, supposedly. And so, they were dragging her out.
That's what I was just thinking.
Very dramatic.
Very dramatic.
Where's the handkerchief?
Oh my God! Yes. Papers.
Exactly.
So they are dragging her out as they are bringing Bridget Bishop down from upstairs. And Bridget Bishop, to her credit, she is trying to stay calm with all of this going on. She has been through this before. 4 years earlier, so she had the witchcraft accusation thrown against her. 4 years earlier, she got accused of stealing a piece of brass from a mill. And that there's a lot of questions going on with that. She claims that she and her daughter found it in their garden. But those gardens were like right on the edge of where somebody could just kind of toss it into the garden.
Right.
The guy that owned the mill was a man named, his last name was Stacy. His son, Will Stacy, had a weird relationship with Bridget Bishop. Mm-hmm. And so it is super likely that he did this on purpose to fuck her up.
I was going to say, yeah.
It got dismissed. So to me, that means he did something. Edward Bishop bailed out his wife, thank God. He seemed like he was a good dude. Her second husband was an ass. He beat the hell out of her.
Yeah.
But she was a super strong woman. I love Bridget Bishop so much. She was an amazing, amazing person. Let me dive into her background a little bit before we get into her questioning. Her first marriage was to Samuel Wasselby. Actually, let me back up even further. Her original surname was Magnus. That is not an English name. No. That is a Germanic, Scandinavian name.
Yeah.
Her name, Bridget is the patron saint of Sweden. The family changed their name from Magnus to Playfer, which was her paternal grandmother's name, at some point. And so her father's side was probably Scandinavian or Germanic. They lived in a part of England, it was the south eastern part of England in Norfolk. And she specifically was from the town of Norwich, I believe. And Norfolk was culturally very different from the rest of England. And one of the things that they had culturally that they did, they have a lot of immigrants coming in from Scandinavia, from Germany. And one of the cultural differences was bartering. And so if somebody had something for you to buy, you were kind of expected to go, well, no, it's got this little tweak in it. I'm going to offer you this. And that was just like a norm. That was not the norm in New England. And Bridget continued to practice bartering when she got to Salem. And there were multiple people during her trial testimony who bring this up. So Bridget came to America in 1666. 1665. And we know this because her daughter was born in Boston, and Samuel is listed as deceased. She also doesn't have the sons that she had in England, so we don't know what happened to them. Her daughter, Mary, doesn't show up in the records, so something must have happened to her. So in 1666, she ends up in Salem. She marries Thomas Oliver, who was 30 years her senior. He had adult children. He was also from Norfolk. And so it sounds like maybe things might have been okay at first, but they go off the rails pretty fast. She does have one daughter with him, Christian Oliver, in 1667. But they're constantly getting in trouble for fighting. Bridget, at one point, one of the neighbors talks about her being bloodied and beaten by him. And then he complained that she was beating him as well. At one point, right before he died, they were screaming at each other on the Sabbath. She was calling him an old rogue and an old devil, according to the court record. And they can either get whipped for this, or they can pay a fine, or they can stand out in the square on lecture day. And that was kind of like the marketplace day when everybody would be there. Stand back to back, gagged, with a note pinned to their hats that said what they did to each other. Thomas's oldest daughter bails him out. She pays the fine. She doesn't do that for Bridget. So Bridget has to stand there for an hour and be humiliated in the square. And right after that, about a year later, he dies.
Wow.
And then a few years after his death, Bridget marries Edward Bishop. He is a sawyer, which means he was a lumberman. That means he was a buff dude. And there was physical labor to saw logs at the time. Mm-hmm. And that also means he was able to rebuild her house. So at the time, he tore down the old house that she had with Thomas Oliver and rebuilt a new one. And so when the
I'm sorry, Shelly. I feel so bad. I have to interrupt because I have to jump out. I've got some like work stuff I've got to get done. I got some of it done, but I've got to actually go out. But I absolutely would love to continue this conversation with you. Yeah. If maybe you can get my socials, my contact information from Cindy. Anything that she would like, please. Yeah. It's been an absolute honor meeting you. And I would love to continue this. Absolutely. So, and of course, Mama D, I love you. I always love seeing you. You gotta join us more. Okay, Miss Donna and my sister.
That's my sister.
Yep. Blessed be.
No, we are at an hour 30, so probably should kind of wrap things up a little bit. Does anyone else have questions though for Shelly before we do wrap up?
And who was the one that they put the rocks on? I can't remember that gentleman.
That was Giles Corey. So he was the one that was also on the 19th.
Right.
One thing I just want to say really quick about the 19th, when Bridget went to the village, she repeatedly said, I don't know these people. I have never been here before. And that's significant because I firmly believe that they brought the wrong person in.
Yeah.
I think the villagers wanted Sarah Bishop brought in, and Hawthorne knew Bridget Bishop. And because 3 days after her questioning, they bring in Sarah Bishop. It was like a redo.
Yeah.
But Bridget Bishop is the one who ends up being killed on June 10th.
Wow.
So
That's
Donna,
not a good
do you have
celebration.
questions?
That's terrible. I mean, this thing, I would not have made it back then.
Oh,
I would have been one of them that would have
You know
been
what I
hung.
have?
No, I'd have been.
Because man, I wouldn't have, oh my gosh, I wouldn't have been able to keep my mouth shut.
you would have
You know
been
what I
called
mean?
a quarrelsome woman.
That's right.
Definitely would. I would have definitely been a bothersome one. Very.
Oh, it's a little too much. Plus, I couldn't wear the dresses. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Sam.
Sorry.
Um,
Not
So
my
you
point.
guys, Trisha said real quick because she was having some internet or connections with. She said, "I'm so sad I couldn't hear most of the story. I'm so sorry, guys." So she was really excited. She wanted to hear this, but she was
Oh.
just having.
Well, luckily she can watch it on YouTube later on.
Yeah.
Definitely can. So Donna, did you have any questions for
Yeah.
Shelly?
Well, I love this. I love the story. I have read different things and with the trials and stuff. I absolutely. I'm exhausted right now because I've been in the woods for hours or days actually. So and my blood sugar is probably about 50 right now. I look like I'm
That's
not.
not good.
It has nothing to do with you. I apologize.
All
I
good.
love
All good.
this story.
Like I said, you just let me go and I just keep going.
I love it. You can talk to me forever. I'll gladly sit in this. I love it. I've just had a few rough days.
Yeah.
All good.
So Donna is a Shawnee native, and she
Oh,
lives
very
in Ohio.
cool. My
Yeah.
cousin.
Yeah. My heritage is, my grandma's a medicine woman. The plants, the herbs, it's handed down. I still carry on the tradition. And I love listening to your stories. I love researching that kind of stuff because it's so amazing. I wouldn't have, like you, I would have made it back then. They'd have, they would have hung me for sure.
I got interested in ancestral stories because of my grandma, my Cherokee grandma.
Yeah.
Like going,
Me too.
my family were polar opposites. My mom's family is Irish, German American. Like you go over, like all the focus was on the middle generation, the younger generation. Go to my dad's side, polar opposite.
Yep.
The eldest person in the room was most important. You sat there and you listened to them.
Absolutely.
The TV did not come on, the radio did not come on. You listened to them. Right. And my grandmother would talk about her parents and her brother and everything about her life. And so I got interested in it that way.
Yes, me too.
And so, yeah. So initially when I was researching family, I was researching my Cherokee ancestors, my Cherokee and Chickahominy ancestors. But then I started stumbling on this path too. But I get to kind of merge all that a little bit in the book. Because I do merge the Native American. The more I learned about Salem's history, initially I was just going to talk about the English colonists and the Native folks. And the more I learned about it, the more I learned about the Black influence on Salem. I realized I had to pull that in. And so Kylie represents all three of those groups. Yeah. She's mixed race, Black, Native American, and English descent. And so it's been amazing learning all of these things. And I get to tell some stories about Salem that people don't hear, especially about Blacks.
Right.
And I can't wait to share those.
Oh, that was mine. Yeah, mine was my grandma telling the stories, but I didn't just have the Native American side. I have my grandpa was Irish. Mm-hmm. So then you got the old lores and legends from all of that.
Oh, yeah.
Once you put them all together.
Oh, yeah.
I had written a story about, it's a collaboration between the Shawnee and the Irish to do this ceremony years ago. And it's amazing because they told it to me. So I wrote it as they told it to me. Mm-hmm. And people that reads it, they're looking at me like, where did you come from? People, is these real people? Did this happen? I said, this is the story that's told me. They're telling to me as it is true. So I'm going to take them at their word because
Yep.
So maybe it sounds strange to you, but that's just kind of who I am.
There's
So-
always a hint of truth in every myth. Always.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Always.
I agree.
I'll have to pick it.
Agree.
It's there.
Mhm.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
So, Shelly, I do have a question for you.
Yes.
So there are many people out there who are interested in writing and starting a book or
Mhm.
whatever. I'm currently working on I have mini short stories. I've got to finish 10,000 more words to finish. So I'm going to be doing that while I'm on the plane heading to Kentucky. But I'm
I
turning
can't
my
wait
short
to
story.
see what you guys are doing next weekend. That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll be going
That'll
live.
be awesome.
Yeah.
We'll be going live for sure. We'll be going live at the Bigfoot Festival, and we'll be going live at the Waverly Hills Sanitarium, which I'm very, very excited for. Donna's coming with us. Rachel, we've got
Third floor.
Mandy, Rick, Marcus. Like what, Mom?
Third floor.
Yes, third floor. Yeah.
I resurrect the Danvers State Hospital in book 2 of the Beckett Cummins series. So
yeah.
Oh,
yeah, the old sanitariums and the mental health hospitals are very interesting places.
they are. They
Oh,
are.
Yeah.
Gotta really
Think about
protect.
how much absorbs into the
Oh, yeah.
building. It's
Oh, yeah.
everywhere, the energy and everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I had actually did it's like the Native American schools where they come and they take the children. And that
Yes.
went on. People don't know that went on. It's like 1994.
I know.
Yeah.
And the
People are so
horrible-
shocked when I tell them about that.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
and,
horrible.
And it's so those places are still around.
Yeah.
And just think about all of the evil and the horrible things that happen there. And they're still unsettled there.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Exactly.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I know I was watching this was like about maybe a month ago. I was watching something about where a young man that he had gone to an old school that it was for Native Americans and it had been closed down. Okay. But he caught something.
Oh,
He
yeah.
definitely caught something.
It's
and
horrible. Horrible.
It is. It was really, I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, that was crazy.
I mean, there's stories, of this horrible abuse. The most horrendous one, maybe I shouldn't, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it or not, was with a young child, an 8-year-old girl, having a baby, and they literally take the baby away from her, which is alive. Amazingly, the child gave birth and lived, and they take the baby, wrap it, and put it into the incinerator. Alive. So the horror in those places and the bodies that were just taken out and buried. Children never return, and they're still survivors. They tell their stories, and they are still alive. And it's so terrible. It's just
It really is.
your heart breaks.
It's sad. Very, very sad. A lot of despair there, a lot of horrific trauma, just so much. There's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
But my question is, okay. So Shelly, my question is, what advice would you or suggestions would you give to someone that would like to get started in writing a book for those that might be watching or watch later?
Oh gosh, it is. I want to give you a warning.
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
It is a lot. It is a lot of work, and the writing part is the fun part. If you want to do the publishing part, that is the hard part. Yep. It's a lot of work to do the marketing aspect of it, and but I get to meet crazy cool people like you guys. But you have to put in a lot of effort to make sure you are putting yourself out there. And one of the ways I was able to do that was to tell these stories about the witch trials on my feeds. And so if you go on my socials, you'll get these little snippets periodically of me talking about the trials, and I have it on my website too. But that was my way, because I didn't want to just like talk about myself. That just seems kind of boring. And even just talking about the book, it's like I have to be careful because everyone that's read the book so far has been like, I didn't know where you were going with this, and that was a good thing. I didn't know where it was headed.
Yeah.
And I don't want to ruin that for people. So it's been frustrating for me. Like, I want to talk about it so much, but I can't say anything yet. So I made a Beckett Coven readers group so I can drive people there so we can chat about it and read the book. But it's hard. It's hard to get yourself out there. And most people that write are pretty introverted. I have a theater degree. This is all an illusion that I'm an extrovert, but I am a very introverted person. Talking about myself, I'd rather put needles in my eyes. So it's really easy for me. But it's really easy for me to talk about my horrible ancestors.
Yeah, there you go. Now that makes sense.
Right. That's funny.
So there's that part of it. But even it's like, writing a play was more like it was more like doing CrossFit is what I would equate writing a play. Writing a novel is a marathon. And I didn't even know if I could do it. This was just an exercise. Like, can I even write a book? And then it was like, I wrote it and I was like, okay, and it seems kind of interesting. People are reading it and they seem to like it. I'm like, can I get a publisher? And then it was like, okay, I got a publisher. And then it's very, also another piece of advice. It's very, very difficult, especially when you're older, to get a book into a top 5 publisher, a big 5 publisher, unless you are a celebrity or somebody that's well known.
Right.
It's just very difficult.
You have to know somebody.
Yeah. But there are plenty of small publishers out there, and my publisher is one of those, that are super supportive and want to give you a great experience your first time out. And don't be afraid to go after one of those small pubs. Don't feel like you have to go straight for the gold. When I started in themed entertainment, I started at a smaller company. I knew where I wanted to go, and I did get there, but I wasn't afraid to start at this other place and then move my way up. I think a lot of, especially young people right now, I've noticed, they want to just like go straight to the thing that they want. It's like, no, you do the work. Sometimes you need experience in other things to get that. Right?
Yeah.
Every single thing I have done throughout my life got me to where I am now.
Yep.
And at the time, they might have seemed weird or frustrating, or like I had to bartend at one point. I worked at a garden nursery. I did all these weird jobs in order to be in entertainment. But every single one of those things that I did actually apply to what I do. These weird ways they come forward. Yeah. And I utilize them right now. So the other thing I feel like it's good to share whatever it is you're writing while you're in the middle of writing it with other people and get their feedback. Don't be afraid to, and don't be afraid to get like solid feedback. I'm not talking about somebody going, I like this. This is cool. No, I need eyes.
Honesty is good. That's what I do. Cindy, I send her stuff because I want her opinion, because I value her opinion, and there's other people, and I was like, tell me the truth, because I want the truth. It helps.
And constructive criticism.
Yes.
I didn't quite understand this when you were doing this, or this character. I have a bunch of Black characters in my book, and I have Black friends. I have Black relatives. But I was still like nervous about making sure I was being authentic and real. And I really wanted my characters. I love Kylie and Finley and Hester. They are amazing people. And I really wanted to make sure I was doing them right. And so I had some Black colleagues and friends read the book and give me that feedback. And I'm like, please do not pull punches. If I'm screwing up, I need to know that.
Yeah.
and they gave me amazing feedback. And sometimes there's just these little details that I hadn't even thought of. Like Kylie has curly hair. I don't have curly hair. I have like super straight hair. I don't think about having to put a bonnet on at night.
Right.
And those little things like that. And then one of my friends, like I had been having her call her father daddy. And one of my friends went, that's a Southern thing. And I was just like, I hadn't thought about that before, but I have Southern relatives. And that's probably how that got into, I called my dad daddy. So it's, those little subtle things that I'm missing because I'm blind to them. Right.
Right.
And so there, I don't know if I answered your question. I probably did like a really roundabout way, but do you want to know how I got my publisher? Because that's a really weird story.
Sure.
So they used to have these pitch fests on Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter. And so every few months they would have these things where from 5 a.m. until 5 p.m. at night, you would pitch your story idea. And they had little hashtags that you would put on it. And I entered Dark Pit like years ago now. It was 2023 or 2024. And that's how I got my publisher. I had 3 agents and 3 publishers like my pitch. And I ended up going with my publisher.
Wow.
Very cool.
But unfortunately, those don't exist anymore. And I was going to query my publisher. I just hadn't got around to it. But it was cool that she found me that way. And then I was able to get in that way. But if you're going to solidly write something and you need to find a publisher, there's something called Query Tracker. And you basically, all the agents are in there, or a lot of the agents are in there, a lot of the editors are in there, and you want to go to, what is it called? Dang it, I can't remember. It's a manuscript wish list, and that's where you kind of do some research about each agent and what they're looking for. And so I just kind of tried to find agents that were interested in witchy stuff.
Right.
And
genre. Yeah.
And try to get in it that way. And then you go into Query Tracker and you set, and everybody wants their query done a little bit differently. I've learned a lot since then. I probably would have done my queries very differently now. Because I understand the market a little bit, but it is a market. You are dealing with a solid business. You are dealing with marketing. Yeah. Everything is about marketing, whatever it is you're writing. And so you have to think about that when you're querying.
Yeah.
Because that's what your agent's going to be doing. They're going to be taking your manuscript to all these different publishers to try to market it and sell it. And so you have to learn about marketing and selling something. It's not just about writing it.
Right.
Well, and then some people can't afford to have a publisher. Or, maybe their book is struggling. And so nowadays, a lot of people are doing the Amazon. You just have Amazon publish.
And that's what I did with my 1X.
And that's fine. I mean, whatever fits your budget. Because I have a dear friend of mine who's helping me. She's very busy writing her books. She actually came on the show, Nicole. And, she does all her work. We have an editor. She introduced me to her editor.
I was going to say, make sure you get an editor.
And her editor's amazing. She's more into the genre that I am in. And so, but she loved my work. But the whole thing is, when I met with Nicole and she's like, you need to go here. We need to do this. And she's guiding me. She's mentoring me, which is great. And I love it. And I appreciate it. So if you can find someone, whoever's watching, and you want to write a story or write a book or write a bunch of short stories and put them in a book like I'm doing right now, if you can, find somebody that's a mentor or somebody that can help guide you, because it is a lot. All the stuff that she was showing me and all the ISBN numbers you got to purchase and this and that. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's a lot. It's not as simple and cut and dry as some people think. Now, you can go and publish it on Amazon, but they also have the rights to your freaking book. I want my rights to my book. I will put the money in to make sure that it is mine and I own it. I'm not giving it up to someone else.
So that's not quite true.
Oh,
that is not true. You own. So I would recommend to anybody who is writing to copyright your like officially copyright your material.
okay.
You submit that manuscript to the Library of Congress. It unfortunately, I think it now costs $70. I think when I first started it was like 20 or 25. Yeah. But do that. That puts the copyright on your manuscript. Amazon does not own your manuscript.
Okay.
Right. You own your manuscript with the copyright.
So then what is this that I'm hearing then about Amazon and their ISBN and all that? What am I
so Amazon, that's not what that is. So there's an ISBN is the number that is normally used by everyone else. Amazon will not use an ISBN. ISBN is just the number that's assigned to a book. It gives you a barcode. That's the official registry of that book.
Right.
Now, Amazon does not use ISBNs. They use ASBNs. They have their own system. That's all that is. It's just your register system for registering the book.
I'm going to have to go. I've got people waiting on me, and
and you need to sleep.
I would like to sleep for like at least 5 hours, but unfortunately, they're yelling. So I got to meet up with the group.
Are you taking them out again?
It's going to be a very short. After last night, it was a little hairy, and with all the water, but it's my obligation. So
okay, we're on to 2 hours anyway.
It's amazing to meet you, and I totally love you. And I
thank you.
I want to hear more, and I will hear more. And
I'm sure I'll be on again.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's wonderful to meet you, Cindy's mom.
It's wonderful to meet you finally.
Finally, yes.
I love it.
And hopefully next time my eyes will be a little bit like this.
Well, it's not like you're not doing anything, right?
Yeah. I'm telling you.
Well, Donna, be safe out there, okay?
Yeah.
Good night, y'all, and I'll see you later.
Take care.
Bye.
Love you, girl. But yeah, we are on to 2 hours, so we'll go ahead and close out the episode. So, Shelly, do you want to give out your handles? I mean, I have them on the description in YouTube, but you can call out your handles.
I'm at Beckett Coven on most socials. I'm on TikTok and Insta and Threads. Come and talk with me on any of those. When I post stuff, please ask me questions. Like if you see something, you go, "What? I want to know more about." Please ask me a question on there. I'm totally up for. And sometimes I will respond with another video. And then you can also go to beckettcoven.com. I've got a whole website up there. It's stuff about the books. And there's even like I have a pale witch hunt on the site where you can go around and find the different locations that are going to be in the book. That's kind of fun. Wanted to make it a little interactive. Yeah, that's awesome. Kind of fun. But yeah, I'm easy to find. At this point, it's really easy. Just look up Shelly Sizemore and I pop up on Google. Or even if you just type in Beckett Coven, I pop up on Google. So Google hallucinates sometimes.
Yes, it
I don't know if you noticed that. Every once in a while it comes back. I Google myself. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, funny. I gotta plug my phone in. It's gonna die.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm very
Mom,
red.
Did you want to give out your handles, or you're good?
I'm good because I really don't have any. I haven't been on anything. You know what I'm saying?
She's been a little busy.
Yeah. No, you're not on social media too much. Every once in a while, you send me a video or something.
Yeah. Not my thing.
Well, Shelly, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. You are more than welcome to come back anytime, even as a guest co-host. I would love to have you back as part of Kevin of Curiosity and be a guest co-host and everything, so we can all chat a little bit more and everything. And then you are more than welcome to come and paranormal investigate with myself,
Yes.
Marcus, and Joy, and Joey.
I would
So I'll
love to.
let you know, and then you can just let us
Let me
if
know,
you-
and I will try to make it at one of these times when I'm not
Absolutely.
writing.
Yeah. No, we've got a few places that we're gonna go. We want to do the Queen Mary again. We want to do the Biltmore Hotel again.
I
Yeah,
love the Queen Mary.
me
I am
too.
down for that.
I love her so. Like she calls me back all the time.
I got a crazy EVP on her once. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much. As
Thanks,
you know,
Shelly.
Coven of Curiosities is a judgment-free circle. Coven of Curiosities. If you would like to join the coven, your stories and experiences will be heard because they matter and are valued. Please rate, follow, like, share, and subscribe, for it's time to join the coven and unveil the mysteries of the unknown. If you would like to be a guest, reach out to me, your little host, Cindy, aka Giggles, at covenofcuriositiespod@gmail.com. And you can connect with me on all social medias, except for X is what they call it now. I'm not on that, but it's very easy to find me. You can either find me under Cindy Sapp on Facebook or Coven of Curiosities. So everyone have a great evening. Stay safe and make sure you give someone that you love a big hug and a kiss and tell them that you love them. Love you, Ma.
Kiss. Bye, guys. Nice to
Bye,
meet you,
Shelly.
Shelly.
Thank you, guys. Bye, Mom.
Bye, honey.
Have a good night, everyone.
All right. You too, babe.
Thank you.